My family called me a loser and kicked me out at dinner. So I cut off my sister's rent, and what happened next shattered their perfect image forever. I came for a family dinner, but they said, "We weren't expecting you." "Go away, loser." I said, "Okay, but now you'll be paying Olivia's rent." They begged, but it was too late. I didn't want to go at first. I mean, after everything that had happened to my family in the last few years, why would I? But something in me just didn't want to carry the grudge forever. My dad was turning 57, and even though I wasn't exactly their favorite person, I thought maybe I could be the bigger man and at least show up. Things had been bad ever since I inherited my grandfather's estate. Grandpa and I were close. I spent a lot of time with him when I was growing up. He always told me stories about his early struggles, how he had to fight for everything he got. I think he saw something of himself in me, which is probably why he left me a fairly substantial sum when he died. This decision did not sit well with my parents or my sister Olivia. They were furious that Grandpa hadn't left them anything, like it was my fault or something. I tried to explain that I had nothing to do with it, but they wouldn't listen. After that, things were never the same. They treated me like an outsider, like I had stolen something from them. They were cold at family gatherings, sometimes they wouldn't even invite me. I kept my distance, but this time I thought I'd try to make things better. I bought my father a bottle of his favorite whiskey, the expensive kind he only drank on special occasions. I even got him a box of gourmet cigars. Maybe I was naive to think that a few thoughtful gifts could change anything, but I had to try. When I arrived at the house, Olivia answered the door. She was the only one who hadn't completely cut me off. We weren't super close, but we'd kept in touch here and there. "Hey, Jeffrey," she said, looking a little surprised. "I didn't know you were coming." "Yeah," I replied. "I thought I'd show up for Dad's birthday." She hesitated for a moment, then shrugged and let me in. As I walked into the living room, I saw a bunch of relatives sitting around, talking and laughing. For a moment, it felt almost normal. But then I saw my parents. My mom's face turned pale, and my dad's expression hardened. The room grew quiet. "You," my dad muttered. "What are you doing here?" I tried to stay calm. "I came to wish you a happy birthday. I brought some presents." He scoffed. "We didn't invite you," my mother chimed in, shaking her head. "Why are you even here? You always bring trouble. Just leave." I could feel my patience wearing thin. I had come here to make peace, and this was the reaction I got. I looked around at the other relatives. They looked uncomfortable, as if they were witnessing something they weren't supposed to see. "Look," I said, keeping my tone even. "I'm not here to fight. I just wanted to celebrate with you." My dad snorted. "Celebrate? You're nothing but a loser. You think a few gifts will make up for everything?" That hit a nerve. All those years of being treated like dirt, like I didn't belong, came rushing back. I clenched my jaw, trying to keep it together, but then my dad pushed it further. "Get out, Jeffrey," he said. "We don't want you here." And that was it. Something inside me snapped. "Fine," I said, my voice cold. "I'll go. But guess what? I've been paying Olivia's rent all this time because you couldn't be bothered to help her. Not anymore. That's on you now." Their faces froze. It was as if they hadn't expected me to stand up for myself. Suddenly, my mother rushed forward. "Wait, Jeffrey." "No," I interrupted. "I'm done. You don't want me here? Fine, but you'll regret this." I turned and walked out, leaving the house in dead silence. As I reached my car, I could hear them screaming from the front door, begging me to stop, but I didn't look back. I got in and drove away, anger boiling in my chest. I wasn't sure what would happen next, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going to be their punching bag anymore. The next morning, my phone exploded. Olivia had called me 6 times, left 3 voicemails, and sent a barrage of texts. I ignored her at first. I needed some space to clear my head after what happened last night. But curiosity got the better of me, and I listened to one of the voicemails. "Jeffrey, it's Olivia. What the hell is going on? Mom and Dad are freaking out, saying you cut me off. They're blaming me for everything. Call me back." I sighed and threw my phone on the bed. Of course, they were blaming her. They were always quick to throw someone else under the bus when things went wrong. Still, I felt bad for Olivia. It wasn't really her fault. I'd been helping her with the rent for the last 2 years because our parents refused to lift a finger for her when she was struggling. But I wasn't going to let them guilt me into continuing, not after the way they treated me. About an hour later, Olivia showed up at my apartment. She didn't even knock, she just barged in. "Jeffrey, what the hell have you been doing?" she demanded. "Good to see you too," I said, crossing my arms. "I'm serious," she snapped. "Dad called all the relatives and told them you threw a tantrum at the party. Now half the family is pissed at me because they think I'm the reason you stopped paying my rent. I raised an eyebrow. Wait, what? He told them that? Yeah, she said, throwing up her hands. They say I must have sided with you against them or something. Uncle Mark called me this morning and asked me if I was plotting with you. It's crazy. This was new. I hadn't expected the rest of the family to get involved so quickly. I leaned back against the kitchen counter and tried to take it all in. Well, Olivia, I'm sorry you got caught in the middle, I said. But I'm done being their scapegoat. They've treated me like crap ever since Grandpa's inheritance. They didn't even want me there last night. I'm not going to keep playing nice when all they do is insult me. She crossed her arms and glared at me. They could have at least talked to me first. You know I need that money. I know, I said, softening my tone. But maybe it's time for them to take some responsibility. They're your parents too. Why should I be the one to keep you afloat while they sit on their hands? Olivia didn't answer right away. I could tell she was torn. On the one hand, she knew I was right. On the other hand, she was caught between her loyalty to me and the pressure from our parents. Finally, she shook her head. This is going to get ugly, she muttered. I'm ready for it, I replied. And it did get ugly. Faster than I expected. By the afternoon, word had spread throughout the extended family. I got a call from my cousin Megan, who always liked to play the mediator. Hey, Jeffrey, she said carefully. I heard about the fight last night. What's going on? I gave her the rundown, leaving out some of the harsher details. Megan listened quietly, then sighed. You know they say you ruined the party, right? But honestly, a lot of people are on your side. Uncle Rob thinks Dad and Mom crossed the line, and Aunt Lisa told them off for the way they treated you. This was a surprise. Aunt Lisa usually stayed out of family drama, so for her to get involved meant she must have been really pissed. Wow, I said. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, Megan said. But Olivia called me earlier, and she's pissed. I think she feels like you threw her under the bus. I rubbed my temples. This was turning into a full-blown family war. Part of me felt bad, but another part of me felt relieved. For once, I wasn't the only one facing their wrath. Maybe now they'd finally see how toxic our parents could be. Later that night, Olivia sent me a long text message. She accused me of being selfish and of abandoning her when she needed me the most. It stung, but I knew she was just lashing out under pressure. I didn't respond. 2 days later, things escalated again. My dad showed up at my work. I worked at a downtown marketing firm, and I was surprised to see him standing in the lobby. He wasn't even trying to hide his anger. We need to talk, he said bluntly. I'm working, I replied, keeping my voice calm. You can call me later. No, he said. We're doing this now. I sighed and walked him outside. He wasted no time laying into me. You embarrass this family, he said. Do you realize how many people are turning against us because of your stunt? You think you're better than us now, don't you? Better than you? No, I said, but I'm not going to let you treat me like dirt anymore. I came to your birthday out of respect, and you threw it back in my face. His eyes narrowed. You think you're entitled because of Grandpa's money. Without him, you'd have nothing. That's rich, I shot back. You're the one who's bitter about not getting a share. This isn't about respect or family, it's about control. He didn't respond right away, but I could see the anger in his eyes. Finally, he said, You're going to regret this, Jeffrey. No, I said firmly, you are. He stormed out without another word. As I watched him go, I realized this was far from over, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally standing my ground. A few days later, I started hearing about the fallout from other relatives. Aunt Lisa called to vent about how my dad had gone around trying to turn the whole family against me. Apparently, he told everyone that I had betrayed the family and cut off Olivia to punish them. But to my surprise, some relatives didn't buy the story. Uncle Rob had told my dad bluntly, You treated Jeffrey like garbage, didn't you expect consequences? Lisa said several others were starting to see through the act too. They remembered how distant my parents had become after the inheritance fiasco. Some of them were now quietly siding with me. But not everyone was supportive. Olivia had gone all in with our parents, and she didn't hold back. She posted a passive-aggressive rant on Facebook that everyone knew was aimed at me. Family is supposed to be about support, not conditions. Some people think they can just walk away when it's inconvenient for them. Must be nice to live with no responsibilities. Some of us aren't so lucky. It took every ounce of self-control not to shoot back. I could feel my phone buzzing with messages from cousins asking me what was going on. The drama was spreading like wildfire, and I was caught in the middle. Later that evening, Olivia showed up at my house again. This time, she looked more tired than angry. She didn't even bother with pleasantries. "Can we talk?" she asked. I nodded and let her in. She sank down on the couch inside. "This whole thing is a mess, Jeffrey. I have people calling me a traitor, others saying I'm too dependent on you. I can't win. What am I supposed to do?" "Olivia, I understand," I said. "But this isn't just about the rent, it's about the way they've treated me all these years. I came to Dad's party to make peace, and they humiliated me in front of everyone. You think I'm just going to roll over and take it?" She looked down at her hands. "I know they were wrong, but they're still our parents. I don't want to be in the middle of this fight." I could tell she was struggling, torn between her loyalty to them and the support I'd given her. I decided to be honest. "Look, Olivia, I never wanted to make you choose sides, but I'm not going to let them walk all over me anymore. I've supported you because I care, not because I owe them anything. If they want to be responsible for you, let them." Her eyes flashed with frustration. "You don't get it. They won't help me. They never have. Without your support, I'm screwed." For a moment, I felt the pang of guilt, but then I remembered the years of insults, the way they had treated me like an outsider. I wasn't going to sacrifice my mental health for people who didn't respect me. "I'm sorry, Olivia," I said quietly, "but I can't do this anymore." She stood and shook her head. "Fine, but don't come crying to me when this all backfires." She left without another word. The next day, things took an unexpected turn. Uncle Rob called and asked if I would meet him for coffee. I agreed, curious to see what he wanted. When I got there, he didn't waste any time getting to the point. "Look, Jeffrey, I know things have been tough with your parents, but I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of us have seen the way they treated you. It's not right." "Thank you, Rob," I said, sipping my coffee, "but I'm not sure what good it does. They're not going to change." "Maybe not," he admitted, "but I think it's time we stop letting them control the narrative. You don't have to fight this fight alone." He went on to tell me that several relatives were planning to confront my parents about their behavior. I hadn't expected this. Most of them usually stayed out of family drama, but this time, they were taking a stand. That night, I got a call from Aunt Lisa. "We just had a meeting with your parents," she said. "It got heated. We told them they needed to apologize to you and start treating you with respect. Of course, your dad was stubborn as hell, but I think we got through to your mom a little." I was stunned. For years, I had felt isolated, like I was the only one who saw how toxic my parents could be. Now the family was beginning to push back against their behavior. Still, I wasn't holding my breath for an apology. People like my father didn't change overnight. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any weirder, I got a message from Olivia. It was short and cryptic. "We need to talk. Something's happened." Olivia's message made me feel uneasy. I considered ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of me. I texted her back, "What's going on?" Her reply came quickly. "Come to Mom and Dad's. It's serious." Against my better judgment, I drove over. I knew I was entering enemy territory, but if something was really wrong, I figured I should at least hear her out. When I got there, Olivia met me at the door. She had a somber look on her face, like she was bracing herself for something heavy. "They're in the living room," she said softly. I followed her inside, and there they were, my parents, sitting stiffly on the couch. They both looked tense, but there was also a hint of something off. My dad gestured for me to sit down, but I stayed standing. "All right," I said, crossing my arms. "What's this about?" My mom sighed dramatically. "We didn't want to tell you this way, but Olivia's in trouble. She's behind on her rent again. We just found out that she might be evicted." I looked at Olivia. She looked away and bit her lip. "We can't let that happen," my dad added. "She needs your help, Jeffrey, just until she gets back on her feet." I stared at them for a moment, letting the words sink in. Something didn't feel right. "How did you just find out about this?" I asked. "We got a call from her landlord," my mother said quickly. Too quickly. Olivia fidgeted uncomfortably and avoided eye contact. My instincts kicked in. I had been lied to by them before, and this whole thing reeked of manipulation. "So, let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You're telling me that her landlord called you instead of her, and this is the first you're hearing about it?" My dad's face tightened. "Look, Jeffrey, this isn't the time to question details. Olivia needs help." I turned to Olivia. "Is this true? Are you behind on the rent?" She hesitated, then finally shook her head. "No, I'm not behind." I felt my jaw clench. "Then why are you all playing this game?" Olivia winced. "They thought if you thought it was serious enough, you'd help again. That was it," I snapped. "Are you kidding me? You dragged me here with a fake emergency just to manipulate me into giving you more money?" I turned to my parents. What is wrong with you people? You couldn't just ask me like normal people? Jeffrey, don't overreact, my mother said, her voice defensive. We were trying to protect Olivia. No, I shot back, I cut you off. Olivia is a grown woman, and if she's in trouble, it's between her and me. But instead of coming to me honestly, you chose to lie, and you wonder why I want nothing to do with you. I turned to Olivia. You went along with this? She looked embarrassed. They pressured me. I didn't know what else to do. Well, congratulations, I said bitterly. You all just made things 10 times worse. I stormed out, but I wasn't done. My anger only grew on the drive home. I had put up with their manipulation for years, but this was the last straw. They wanted to play games? Fine, I was going to set the record straight. When I got home, I started calling and messaging the relatives who had been in contact with me. I told them everything. How my parents had lied about Olivia being in trouble. How they had tried to guilt me into helping after humiliating me at the party. And how they had turned the whole situation into a circus. The response was swift and brutal. Uncle Rob called me first. You're telling me they made that whole story up? Jesus Christ, that's low, even for them. Aunt Lisa was even angrier. I'm done with them, she said. They've played the victim card for too long. They're toxic and they've been dragging this family into their mess for years. Word spread quickly. Within a day, most of the family knew the truth. The tide had completely turned. Relatives who had been on the fence began to cut off contact with my parents and Olivia. No one wanted to deal with their lies and manipulation. Olivia texted me and begged me to stop. Please, Jeffrey, you're losing everyone. They say it's your fault. My fault? I replied. You brought this on yourself. For the first time in years, I felt I had real support. The family finally saw what I had been dealing with all along. My parents and Olivia tried to do damage control, but it was too late. No one bought their excuses anymore. It was strange. I had felt like the black sheep for so long. But now I wasn't the outcast anymore. My parents were, and frankly, it felt like justice. A week later, the fallout was complete. My parents had tried to rally support from the rest of the family, but it hadn't gone the way they'd hoped. I heard from Megan that they had even reached out to some of the more distant relatives, people they hadn't spoken to in years, to ask for sympathy. They called Aunt Marie, Megan said with a laugh as she filled me in. You know, the one who never puts up with anybody's nonsense? Apparently, your dad gave her some sob story about how you turned everyone against them. She told him, maybe if you weren't such a control freak, your family wouldn't hate you. Then she hung up on him. Hearing that was more satisfying than I'd like to admit. But the real shock came when I found out that they were trying to get help from Uncle Peter, the rich one who lived out of state. Peter had always been somewhat neutral when it came to family drama, but he wasn't naive. He saw through my parents' games years ago. I found out later that when they called him, he didn't hold back. Peter told them straight out, Megan explained. Don't call me again. I'm not wasting my time with your theatrics. It was brutal. One by one, every lifeline they tried to grasp turned to dust. The people they once controlled had finally had enough. By the end of the week, my parents were virtually isolated. Olivia tried to reach out to a few cousins, but none of them were interested in getting involved anymore. They're done, Rob told me. No one wants to deal with their drama. It's just them now. Mom, Dad, and Olivia in their little kingdom of misery. I almost felt sorry for Olivia. Almost. She had chosen to side with them and enable their lies. Now she was stuck on their sinking ship. A few days later, my father actually called me. I debated ignoring it but decided to answer. I was eager to hear what he had to say. Jeffrey, he said after a long pause, we need to talk. Do we? I replied, my voice cold. We made some mistakes, he said slowly. But you've made things worse by turning everyone against us. Don't you think it's time to end this feud? I laughed bitterly. You think this is my fault? You brought this on yourself. You lied to me. You humiliated me in front of the family. Now you're facing the consequences and you want me to fix it for you? Jeffrey, please, we're still family. Funny, I said. You didn't care about family when you called me a loser in front of everyone. Now that you have no one left, you want my help? No. I'm done. He tried to argue, but I hung up on him. That was the last time I talked to him. The last time I spoke to any of them, really. I later heard through the grapevine that they were struggling to keep up appearances. With their family ties severed, they had no one to lean on. Olivia, who had relied on my support, was now learning the hard way that our parents had no intention of helping her. As for me, I felt free for the first time in years. I wasn't weighed down by their toxicity. I had my life back and the support of loved ones who truly cared about me. My parents and Olivia were left in their self-made kingdom with no one to blame but each other. And honestly, I was okay with that.